Welcome to Richer Within with me, Kathryn. Activate your inner wealth of wisdom. What if the answers you seek are already inside you? On this podcast, I, along with Dr. Kat, explore what it means to truly rely on your inner guidance, moving beyond the noise of external influences to reconnect with your unique magnificence. Each episode offers compelling real-life stories and practical tools to help you shift from overwhelm to clarity. Discover how to activate your inner wealth of wisdom, your wow, and harness the universal creative process to shape a life even beyond your imagination. Ready to embrace liberating responsibility for your life, own your worth, and trust your inner guidance? Then you're in the right place at the right time. Let's dive in. Your transformation starts now.
That is such a great introduction. I'm Dr. Pat, and Kathryn and I get to take this journey together. But I want to tell you up front, if you want to find out more about Kathryn or Richer Within, you want to work with somebody, because this topic that we're going to talk about now is very, very important, especially as we enter the most incredible, unpredictable digital age. And I want to say that. So go to richerwithin.com. You'll find everything you need there. Get ready for this one. And I had a little trigger on this, preparing for this one. Today's episode is this: only human, or maybe something more. What? Now, here's what I want to say about this. We're going to talk about this. Only human. How do we know whether we're something more? How do we understand what the word human is? Now, I know I go off on the pop culture thing every once in a while, but I got to tell you, that Spielberg movie, with Disclosure Day, that really gets you to think about some things you never thought about before. But the whole point of this is, why can't we be both? Why can't we be all of it? Do you think maybe that whoever you believe in, honestly, I grew up thinking the stork dropped me off. So the stork flies in and drops the baby off. So they didn't tell me the real story about that for a long time. But then some days we discover that bird didn't bring nobody in. But then we don't know. Well, then who am I? What am I? And what could I become? See, this is what we're going to talk about. What is the lens that we're looking through as we look at our lives? What are we looking through? And do you believe that you're going to be leapfrogging ahead in the way of life you want, believing you're only human? I'm not going to answer that question. Kathryn, I think you should answer that one.
In 2 words. Yeah, let's do it.
Here's a funny story. I stuttered when I was a kid, and I think I mentioned that to you, but I stuttered really badly. All right. And I remember, it's got to be in 5th grade when we start to use the word human in science and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Man, I could not get that word out. And so I was a little triggered by this episode because I had practiced it. And when I practiced the episode, I started to stutter the word human. Okay. We can do a whole show on that. But it's so interesting how we absorb things in our life, how we either remember things. But then I remembered what happened that allowed me to say that word. Now, clearly, I started for the next 20 minutes. But let's talk about, could the moment that I reached, that I actually could utter the word human in the middle of 15 million other versions of it? Could it have been something more, Kathryn?
Well, it sure sounds like it to me. And I also want to say that when we talk about this today, there's no right answer, right? And
what?
There's no right answer, and there's no wrong answer. It's simply an exploration so that people may begin to think about what you've been thinking about and describing. Well, how does it feel to me, and what does it do to me on my insides? How do I feel when I think I am only human. I am a human being. And then because there's three phrases that we hear a lot, right? We're only human, one. Two, we are human beings having a spiritual experience. And three, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. So we'll be looking at these in terms of identity and experience. So these are the lens through which we live our lives
Hmm.
and create our identities. So thinking of I'm only human. I mean, why even say only,
I was going to
right?
ask you
It's like
that.
let's just say I'm human. I'm human. And I think the point of, and maybe why I'm only human is because that leaves room for compassion when we make a mistake, when we're feeling like, just human. And what if it's limiting? What if it's kind of an excuse? There's a song in the 70s called I'm Only Human,
I
right?
know,
I'm
right?
only human, born to make mistakes. And I'm like, guess what? I read the lyrics when I remembered that song, and it was a guy asking for forgiveness because he had an affair. Excuse me, forgive me because I'm only human. I'm like, uh-huh, yeah. So can we use it as a limitation, perhaps? And so there's different ways to look at I'm human. I mean, yes, we are human. We are flesh and blood and bones, and we have evolved into this physical temple. And some people believe, and that's all there is, and that's okay. And when I die, that's all there is, and that's okay. And I mean, that's it, and that's okay. That's one lens. And I think that for me, when I feel the most human, is when I look in the mirror and I see myself maturing over time. I'm going to put it that way. And sometimes it's not so easy. It's not so easy sometimes to watch myself change in that way. And so I feel very, very human in those moments. I feel very vulnerable in those moments. And when I am doing that, I feel myself literally getting smaller because I'm identifying with a self that I know is only here for a while. I know this body wasn't built to last forever as a human body. God, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. But I wasn't meant to live forever in this physical temple. And would I really want to? So that's kind of where I think it goes into, you know, feeling human. I'm not denying it, right? I'm not denying that I feel that way sometimes. And that I can also expand my own consciousness with choice and with
Mm.
creativity and with possibility. Okay, so then this is what I'm seeing. This is how I'm feeling. How can I experience this differently? What can I do, right? So that's what I can do about that with the I'm
Hmm.
human and when I'm feeling particularly human or when I'm pouting about something and I'm feeling human and small. I mean, I feel myself even when I talk that look at my body's actually contracting. I'm feeling smaller and it shows.
Yeah. But
So
that's
then
a cop out, right? When people say I'm only human, you understand what that means when they do that. That means I am not going to be accountable for my stuff, and I'm just going to tell you I'm only human, and you're going to accept that and love me anyway. And you're not going to ask me a follow-up question unless you're Linda. But beyond all that, that is one of the greatest relationship cop-out things that is said between two people, right?
mm,
Try saying that to
mhm,
your boss. Okay,
mhm,
whoopsie. But what you're talking about is so great. I love that we're talking about this.
mhm,
You know, I was on a panel once and they asked everybody on the panel, would you freeze yourself, freeze your body? What's the expression?
mm.
What is that?
I'll go in
Freeze?
time capsule or
Yeah, yeah.
something.
And I had four other of my colleagues on there and they're like, oh no, I live in the life. I said, oh yeah, I freeze myself in a minute. Okay, then it just generated all of this sick discussion on why they thought I would do that. And I stopped the panel. I said, dude, wait, all of you, I wouldn't do it for some psychological, I want to age. I said, I think the future and the technology we're going to develop in the future, I don't want to miss that. You know, part of this journey, talk about this, because let's talk about aging. Aging for a minute and aging gracefully versus what's happening now. Loneliness is in epidemic form regarding to aging. Did you know that?
I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and that's where I feel like when we start talking about human beings having a spiritual experience, then that expands from loneliness into knowing I'm never, ever alone. And so if obviously I'm a human, I am human, I am a human being and having a spiritual experience, having spiritual experiences. Well, what does that mean? To me, a spiritual experience is something beyond my rational mind. It is often spontaneous. I didn't plan it. I mean, sometimes I plan things and I'm thinking, well, this would be a great thing to do. And I trust that I'm going to go deeper and something wonderful is going to happen. Most of the time, it is totally spontaneous. And I'll give you an example recently. And these spiritual experiences also for me are this spontaneous experience of joy, of awe, of being completely in the moment, of like forgetting all my age, forgetting my quote unquote limitations, forgetting what I should do, what I shouldn't do, what I can't do, what I'm supposed to do, and I'm whatever age, whatever culture says you can and can't do at those age. I am nowhere anywhere near that limitation. I am in the moment. And so recently I went to Mount Shasta. I was at a meditation retreat and they had this beautiful, beautiful river that was flowing right in the middle of the property. It had a couple bridges over it. And one of the afternoons we had off for a couple of hours to have some quiet time. Well, I put on my bathing suit and I went down to the river. I had the whole place to myself. I was on the upriver from everybody else. And I spent the entire time crawling around in my bare feet, hands, feet, dipping in little swimming pools and little pools of water, just like a little river rat, just like a kid. And so to me, I felt I was so embodied, right? And having a spiritual experience part about it was because I was in that place of awe and joy and playfulness. I was singing camp songs I hadn't remembered in decades. I was singing to the river. I was talking, you know what a kid does when they're playing. And so to me, that is that human being having a spiritual experience. It was timeless. I mean, when I finally did look at my watch, I'm like, oh, I'm going to be late for dinner. And being very full of life and and it's this sense of being less myself than ever and yet more of myself. In other words, I was not self-conscious. I was simply playing in the moment. So spiritual experience doesn't have to be a big dramatic thing or a big religious thing. It can happen in stillness and in nature and in laughter or in deep connection. This leads us to recognize that right here and now we have that available to us and that we are not separate from it. To get back to your question and point about this epidemic of loneliness, with that expanded spiritual experience and that awareness, we're never alone.
You know, I ponder something very interesting I want to tell you. And it's related to this topic, but I'll tell you what it is. The minute that I had to go to study like the Bible and the this and the that and all the stories, I love the stories. I love them all. And, you know, I have a different view of it now, but I was always fascinated by one thing. He lived 600 years. And I always thought about that. So my little childlike brain one day, right? Of course, it was not the right answer on the exam. Said, Well, that's because he didn't live a life of a human. He lived a life following and being and having his higher power within him. Okay, it was the wrong answer, but it led me on a pathway. So you see, part of this is embedded in what we've talked about previously, right? What if we weren't human? How do we look at our humanness? Is that a word? Humanness? How do we look at this earth skin we're in beyond what we think are limitations? Because this thing we got here, this is a magnificent thing. Our bodies, our humanness. Do you know how incredibly crazy this system is we have?
I do. And what you're pointing to, Dr. Pat, is that 600 years, you were right as a kid, that was a metaphor. Because when we look at the question of, are we spiritual beings having a human experience, that means we're timeless. That was actually coined by Pierre Desjardins, the French philosopher and Jesuit priest. I've also heard people saying, we are spiritual beings practicing being human, that we're spiritual beings learning to inhabit humanness. So, people like Carl Sagan, we are consciousness experiencing itself. Another way to say that, right? I feel like it is another way to say that. And so it's about really this, instead of spirituality being something that I occasionally experience, what if this is actually my nature? What if I am that already? And maybe that's why we have such a rough rub when we're experiencing anger or despondence or anything like that, because that infinity, that infinite consciousness that knows all and is all joy and beauty and harmony is like, whoa, wow, really? Where did that come from? Oh, yes, I'm practicing being human, and this is part of it, right? This is part of it. And such a beautiful thing. It also opens the question of, who am I beyond this physical temple, beyond my emotions, beyond my cultural identity, my ethnicity, my all of these things? Who am I beyond all of the labels, if you will? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with labels, and yet, who am I beyond that? What if, at essence, I am whole? And this is the classroom in where I get to remember and to express that wholeness and find those places where I lose that sense of my self-consciousness. I become less self-consciousness and more fully alive, more fully present, more fully me without all of that, and being in those moments.
Yeah.
I had a really powerful moment, unexpected, uh, at the beach, very cloudy day, very overcast, one of those very mysterious days where if I went 5 feet, I couldn't see a person behind me, 10 feet or so. Ocean was very, very close. We have these little sandpipers that go along, and they're little leggies that go very, very, very fast. And I was standing there just watching the sandpipers. And in a second, everything disappeared. There was nothing except for that moment. There was nothing. I was aware that I was, and yet everything else simply dropped way back.
Yeah.
Just like that. And then just like that, the wave comes in, the people emerge from, and so these are those beautiful moments of transcendence where when we take the time to drop everything, really, whether it's in nature, whether it's on your meditation pillow, whether it's a moment during the day, during meetings, to drop into that moreness that is possible. Again, not everybody relates to that, and I respect that, and I get it completely. And so it's a beautiful possibility. And I also think and believe that we can live in all three in one day.
Yeah.
Right? There's days I spill a lot of milk and wow, do I feel human. I also just say, oh, I spilled milk. But there's days when I feel more human and nothing wrong with that. And I'm very embodied. And then I have these wows, these moments of timelessness and this thing you can't make up, you can't buy it, you can't read it, you can't learn it. It simply is. And then the moments of just feeling that there is something greater and infinite moving within me that I am part of and am in that river of life.
Mm. And aren't these things, though, important and help us move beyond the anger, the jealousy,
Oh.
the envy, like the mistakes? We did a show on shoulda, woulda, coulda almost, but we have to have some remedy, but we keep looking outside like a pill, potion, lotion, or maybe I should just, watch that live streaming, whatever that is for 24. But you're talking about looking at this, looking at the beauty of our humanness.
Yeah.
Understanding it, but also understanding that ain't the only thing we've been given.
Yes. And in that, I love what you just said about the beauty of our humanness. And it's about recognizing the immense within the everyday, right? That expansiveness within every day. And so, we're not here to escape our humanity, nor be defined by it, like you're saying, but to inhabit it more consciously. And there's a choice point at any given moment, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I came to my own conclusion on why Seth lived 935 years. I don't even know. They're just a bunch of people. I came to my own conclusion about that many, many years ago. Some people say it's not true, so I was just wasting my time with all that brain power. But to your point, we are powerful beyond belief.
Beyond measure. Yeah.
We really are. But the reason we are is because we are more than our humanness. And that's what you're reminding us of today. And you're going to walk us through a way to reflect on that on an ongoing basis.
Yes. It'd be my delight and my honor and my pleasure to do that. So I fondly call this a spiritual mind spa treatment. So prepare for the spa. So anyone listening, just continue to listen. If you are doing something, that's okay. And if you're in a space really to take that moment to center in, I invite you to relax into whatever seat you are. You can even be lying down wherever you are comfortable and feel safe. To close your eyes and receive a deep breath from your belly, all the way up the middle of your chest and your ribs, all the way up to your heart, and simply let it go. Simply allow the breath to guide you into a space of calm, to receive this spa of remembrance that there really is only one thing going in here on any time, any place that we live in the lap of a loving and an infinite universe. It is all that there is. There is no circumference and there is no center to it because it is everywhere. And so this means right here and right now, it is. It is all of the power imaginable, all of the power that shifts the plates in the earth and it sets the stars ablaze. It is all of the presence that is the life force itself, that is energy that is inexhaustible and inextinguishable. It simply infinitely changes form. And it is that infinite intelligence, the perfect pattern of all of life, the Fibonacci code, the planets in their orbits. We don't do that, but this infinite intelligence does. And guess what? This is who we are. because we are embodiments of the very same power, presence, and intelligence. We are here by divine design and divine appointment to be uniquely our authentic selves, for there is only one around, one of us in this physical temple, expressing as consciousness itself, as all of this life, and the joy and the beauty and the harmony that is infinite and is always present. This is who and whose we are, for we belong to the universe as its beloved expressions. And so I speak this word with great joy and conviction for everyone within the sound of my voice, that everyone is a beautiful embodiment of this. Everyone is a star wrapped in skin, billions of years in the making, as them, one time around only way to express this, to live it. And so I affirm for them and I call forth a knowingness of their innate power to be that, to be and express their unique selves, to do that which they feel called from the inside out to do, to live that life that is wonderful beyond their deepest imagination, to steep in the potential of the something more and follow its urgings, because it is the evolutionary desire back of all of creation that is that impulse within them. And as they do, more good unfolds than they had even imagined, and they allow it to be. And so in gratitude, I know that this is their spiritual birthright. It is our spiritual birthright. And in that knowing, I release this word into the cosmic womb of infinite potential, the infinite field of possibility, that place of absolute unconditional love that always says yes. Yes, my beloved. And you are my beloved. It is my joy to give that unto you, which is your heart's desire, for yours and mine are the same. I bow to this. I welcome it to be so, and I release this, and we let it be. And so it is.
So it is.
So
Kathryn, thank you so very much. If people want to have his personal experience with you for whatever is going on in their lives, what is the best way for them to contact you?
Contact me through richerwithin.com, and I'll get right back to you. You can also listen to other talks as well on the Transformation Talk Radio. I'm on there. I'm also on YouTube at Richer Within, and on Facebook, where you can see a lot of my adventures into nature, where I have these beautiful moments of transcendence. So thank you. Namaste.
Namaste. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for investing in yourself by listening to Richer Within with me, Kathryn, and Dr. Pat. Continue this journey with us every third Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio. Feeling inspired? Visit richerwithin.com to explore one-on-one sessions, speaking engagements, and supportive services with me. Together, let's co-create a world that uplifts everyone through deeper living and conscious presence. Until next time, and always, align with your inner wealth of wisdom. Wow.